It's the 2021 Midwest Digital Marketing Conference, next on City Corner. Hi, I'm Sarah Thompson, and welcome to City Corner. The 2021 Midwest Digital Marketing Conference is just around the corner, and we're going to get all the details on today's show. I'm now joined by Perry Drake. He is the founder of the Midwest Digital Marketing Conference. He is also the co-chair and associate teaching professor of marketing at the University of Missouri, St. Louis. Perry, it's good to see you.
Hi, Sarah. Good to see you again as well. I wish it was in person. But...
I know. So the last time I saw you was about a year ago, this time, I think, talking about the Midwest Digital Marketing Conference for 2020.
Right.
Obviously, that didn't happen in person, but here we are and ready to talk about 2021. How's this all coming together? How's it been?
It's been a bit hectic at times. Obviously, everything was disrupted from the old format last year. We had to scramble to pivot to stay alive and not let the MDMC brand kind of stop for a while. And then we're kind of bulldozing forward and trying to do some new exciting things in the digital space. It's kind of interesting because it kind of brings a new energy to the format in a way, because we're playing with things we had never done before in a way. So that's kind of exciting, but it's also a little scary, definitely.
Right. I think I don't know if irony would be the right word to use here, but I think what's so interesting is here we are, and you've had this hugely successful conference. Every year just grows and grows and grows and gets so much national attention. The pandemic comes, and then now more than ever, there's such a focus on digital marketing. And so there's kind of this like engine behind it in terms of its importance. Not that it wasn't there before, but that there's such a focus on that. Do you see that now? Are you hearing that just from everyone who's participating? And
yeah, definitely. And more of a focus, obviously, around technology and how that embraces the communications or the customer touch points, because of the new touchless society. So, I mean, so much is being changed. And I think a lot of it will kind of continue on even after we're out of this to a certain respect. It's just our new way of conducting business, doing exchanges, all of that sort of stuff. So, I mean, we've got a lot of sessions at the conference this year, which are kind of, we call them kind of COVID topics. So it's, how is marketing changing, the messaging, the technology, all of that sort of stuff to try to hit on that for the attendees.
That's interesting. Yeah, well, that's a great way to dive into the conference. So we've got the dates. It's April 26th through the 29th. Normally, if one would go, they'd be down at Union Station. So how is it going to work virtually this year for those days?
Yeah, no. I'm happy to explain it. So last year when we pivoted, it was a scramble. So we pretty much dropped any miscellaneous programming, and we just went for the 2-day live streaming event of our top 14, I think, speakers, Sarah, and that was it. So, we had a great academic component going on. We had the student competitions that were supposed to be occurring. Facebook Blueprint was going to be there. I mean, we had a lot of stuff happening, workshops, live workshops, all of that last year. We just said, you know what, let's just do the 2-day live streaming, free tickets, which was great in a way, because that helped us build our database also. So that was a plus of that, not having the paid ticket component. This year, we kind of tried to get back to more normalcy. So we're doing workshops again, but obviously they're Zoom, but again, synchronous. So, you'll join in a room with maybe 35 other individuals with a professional talking about LinkedIn B2B strategy, for example, for a half a day. So we're doing the workshops, so we brought those back. We did bring back the academic component. So we've got a half-day academic summit where actually we've got Facebook, we've got Adobe, we have HubSpot, all participating in that, where they'll be talking with academics on how you can utilize their software within the classroom to teach students, get those certifications. which again is kind of hot at the moment because so many people are stuck at home. It's like, okay, what do I do with all this downtime? Let's get some certifications in. So, if you go to Google Trends, it's kind of interesting. I was just doing that with my students a couple of days ago. Go to Google Trends and you can kind of see what sort of the hot things are, looking for online certifications. You'll see that there's a trend in search on that. So, we're trying to ride that wave a little bit and keeping an eye on the trends and what people are doing. So we'll still have our 2-day live streaming event, Sarah, where we've got some big names. So we have TikTok, so that's one of our leads. And then I'm sure you saw The Social Dilemma on Netflix. As most people, and if anybody watching this, if they didn't, please go watch The Social Dilemma. It will scare you to death with respect to what goes on.
Right. The irony of that is like, and if you still want to pursue a career in social media.
Did you steal the smartphones from your kids after you watched that, Sarah?
It took me a while to lead up to watch it because I had heard so much about it. And I was like, do I really want to open my mind to what you sort of already know? I think it's fascinating. I do think it's this duality of when you work in the industry and when you're aware of what's going on and then how you relate to it personally. And then obviously with your children. But that's great. A great tie-in to have that as a highlight.
Right. Yeah, and I knew I wanted somebody affiliated with that movie to be a part of MDMC. So I worked my magic out on LinkedIn and
the Perry drink magic,
Lynn Fox and I connected up because she is kind of big into research. She embraces kind of academic research and that sort of thing. So we kind of clicked. And she agreed to come on and be interviewed as a part of MDMC. She's a part of, I think it's called the Human Project, where again, just trying to make technology a little more humanistic and not so kind of, robotic or, kind of, AI sort of driven. So those are kind of the two biggies. And then I'm also, which I don't know if you follow, Shankar Vedantam of The Hidden Brain, the podcaster of The Hidden Brain podcast on NPR. Again,
I'm familiar with him, but
yeah. And again, I just say to the audience out there, definitely give him a try of this podcast. I think he has about 2 million downloads a week of his podcast. And again, he talks a lot about kind of our hidden brain and why we do some of the things we do. And how that ties into technology and creating those echo chambers and the polarization due to kind of politics. And he does it all in a way where he doesn't really get into sides of any issue. So he's really good at kind of revealing the story and the facts behind it. And so I love him. And I knew I wanted him because I always like to have somewhat of a little academic thought piece within MDMC. So, we had the Brookings Institute, I think a couple of years ago. So I approached him, his publicist, and so we have him on and I'll be interviewing him as well. So I'm really excited. And then, we've got the usual lineup. I mean, we've got Facebook, we've got Google, we've got J&J, we've got Gatorade. Again, all of them talking about different topics around technology or changes brought on by COVID, or where are we going, and SEO, paid search, you name it, it's covered. 70, not counting the 2-day live sessions, about 70 some odd sessions total will be considered on demand. So we're pushing it just like we always have, and trying to make it as touchable as possible in a safe way, in this virtual world. But
that's a really great and a good balance too, because I think sometimes one can think of, especially with the conference, that there is this very professional component. But I want to tie back in because you emphasize it a lot. Obviously, you're a professor at UMSL at the University of Missouri St. Louis. Talk about the student sort of element of this and like where the money that's raised for this actually goes, because that's a big part. I think when you go to the conference, you see people in the industry, you see people here, and you meet people. It's a great networking event and it feels very, very professional, but underneath it all is really to educate too and to help with the students that are currently at UMSL. Do you want to talk a bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for bringing that up. My students are critical to making this event occur. Almost everybody on the executive committee, Sarah, is an UMSL alum or student of mine who's gone on MBA, whatever the case might be. What's kind of sad, when it's live, we would have about 50 student volunteers because, again, we had to actually create it live down at Union Station. in the new virtual world, we don't need quite as many student volunteers. So, pretty much the committee's handling it, but it's still great for some of my current students, my grad assistants. I have 3 grad assistants who, I mean, they're working with Facebook, they're working with Twitter, and Lynn Fox. So they're getting some great opportunities, networking with some of these big individuals, handling sponsorships. So they're learning all sorts of great skills through this, and I'm letting them take charge, and just I'm trusting them enough to report back to me if there's issues or questions that they can have. And then, as you said, all of the proceeds of MDMC goes back to our students in the form of scholarships. So we've got 2 endowed scholarships for undergrads and grad students. We set that up 2 years ago, and I think, to your point, in a way, not a lot of people know kind of that about the conference, that it is a nonprofit, and the proceeds do not go back into my pocket, so I can run off to Bermuda at the end of it, although I would certainly love to at the end of the conference, which I'm sure you've been involved in events and stuff. I mean, it wears you out totally. But yeah, that's a great thing. So we actually started featuring scholarship winners on the website as well, just to try to be a little more upfront about who we are, and when you buy a ticket or when you're sponsoring the event, where that money's going, which is important for everybody today. Everybody wants to know, if I'm going to do business with you, what do you stand for? What are your passions and your causes, kind of. So yeah.
No, and it's and I think what it's great about the conference is, on some, it's really hyper-focused. Some of the breakout rooms that professionally, if you are wondering how to work in a certain software or strategies to approach for your business, you can get that. But then there's also these discussions, as you pointed out, that are more academic based, that make you think more philosophically about technology and about digital marketing and social media. And as audited as that might sound, there's so much to that, behind it. So I think it's always just a great balance. We're gonna take a quick break. I'm gonna throw up on the screen the information. It's the Midwest Digital Marketing Conference, MDMC 21. It's coming up April 26th through 29th. For more details, you can go to bestmarketingconference.com. And I want to come back to you before we go quickly to break. Perry, can you register now? I know you're shooting out, I've seen promo videos, which we're showing some of. I've seen stuff, I think I'm on your mailing list. I've seen stuff on social media. So is registration open now, or when does it open?
Yeah, so registration's fully open, Sarah. So again, you can get your free ticket for just the 2-day live streamed event. So there is no charge for that. Where again, you can hear from TikTok, Shankar, Social Dilemma, Facebook, Google, a couple others, 14 in total. That's totally free if that's all you want to do. Or we have 2 levels of tickets, basic versus ultimate, where if you purchase a ticket, you can also get access to 1 or 2 half-day workshops, intensive workshops on different subjects like SEO or data or measuring ROI. And then you also get access to the on-demand sessions as well, within our content library. So, yep, and you also can get a t-shirt. I'm wearing one from last year.
Yes.
You can also get a t-shirt. So we are doing swag boxes, and we're actually delivering popcorn to every paid ticket holder, because we wanted to kind of make it as real as possible. So yeah.
Oh, that's great. Well, we're going to get into some more details. For you at home watching, we are going to take a quick break, but we're going to have more about the Midwest Digital Marketing Conference 2021 right after this. Please stay with us.
Many reasons to love St. Louis, you can't pick just one.
What I love about St. Louis is the 79 unique neighborhoods and 108 beautiful city parks, including Forest Park, which is actually larger than Central Park in New York, and the gorgeous Tower Grove Park right here.
And there's always something new to experience, no matter the time of day or the season. So come and experience St. Louis.
I'm Sarah Thompson, and welcome back to City Corner. For this program, we're talking about the Midwest Digital Marketing Conference 2021, MDMC 2021, and I'm joined by Perry Drake. He is the founder of the conference. He's also an associate teaching professor of marketing and co-chair of that Department of Marketing at the University of Missouri, St. Louis. Perry, it's good to see you virtually, and thank you for joining me to talk about this year's conference.
Thank you for inviting me, Sarah. Glad to be a part of it.
Yeah, and it's coming up soon. I wanted to kind of come back. You've kind of covered in the first segment a lot of what people can expect by participating in the conference in April virtually, but there's some unexpected things that you have planned as well. Talk about that.
It's all about trying to keep, I guess, this digital event, which again, a lot of people are grappling with, taking events digitally, to make it as real as possible. So one of the things we've always done is we always had a VIP reception the night before, which was for our speakers and our high-end ticket holders. And we thought, how in the world can we recreate that this year? So again, we thought, okay, we're gonna have to do something to draw people into this Zoom room. We're not using Zoom per se, but so we brought on board a Food Network star to do a cooking demo. And then we also, again, because we wanted to keep our connection with Union Station, we went down and chatted with them, and they're gonna also come in during that VIP room and feed the sharks and the stingrays from their new aquarium live as well. So it's just all about trying to do those things. And you know what, the other thing, Sarah, that we didn't get into as well is, even after we go back face to face, what's kind of exciting is we've got kind of a new business model here for the conference, which probably won't change. I will probably have every speaker going forward pre-record their session to pour that into our content library, our learning management system. And so there's always going to be now, I think, a digital component, because it's a win. It's a way to capture people outside of the area, let's say, that couldn't necessarily afford to kind of come in or fly in, whatever the case might be, and it just extends your reach in a way. So, that's kind of the excitement. You make lemonade out of lemons, I guess, right, or whatever it is. Yeah.
Tell me this, because I feel if you work in anything on the digital side and marketing right now, you probably, and I'm not just speaking for myself or the things that I'm involved with, but feel overloaded, not in a bad way. Like there's kind of this duality to it, right? Which is, as you pointed out, you are now going to move forward creating just this archive, this deposit of content digitally, just because that's going to be the direction moving forward in addition to live. But for the people doing it starts to feel, I said in the past 12 months, I can count on two hands or more, like the different software I've had to use, the different apps I've learned to use. And on the one hand, it's been great, but it's also really overwhelming in this business. So what are you sort of seeing? And even with students, can you streamline this process? Is it a positive thing to have so many apps, so much software to learn, or how do you juggle it to be successful with what your objectives and goals are in this industry?
Yeah, no. I think it's a challenge for many people. So just even take small business owners, for example. I work with North County Inc. a little bit, and trying to figure out ways I can assist some of the businesses that way through North County Inc. And some businesses can pivot correctly. They figure out how to bring technology into it, push to kind of e-commerce from maybe a wholesale sort of environment. So some people are blessed where maybe they've got a little bit of manpower or time to think about that. Others are just trying to make ends meet, and they just don't even know where to start to pivot and to kind of push things into a digital sort of space, which is kind of a shame. You even have like Katie's Pizza, for example. She's doing phenomenal. Some of my students know Katie, and she's doing phenomenal, but she pivoted to that frozen pizza model and has done a phenomenal job of doing that and kind of shifting and figuring out how to make it work. Or, you've got other companies that might have been in a wholesale sort of environment, and it's now, how are they even selling, because the stores aren't open to sell product. So again, they've had to figure out how to shift to go to kind of direct to consumer sort of. And again, if you've got the ability to do it, you've got the time, you got the resources, and you got the wherewithal to try to figure it out. That's the hard part.
Right.
I could tell you do that, but if you don't even know where to start as a small business owner, a lot of small business owners just aren't even trained in a lot of those things. So that's kind of the new world we're kind of in. And I mean, we're going to be a touchless society for at least another year, if not a couple more years. And I think that whole touchless side is going to kind of linger on.
Right.
So at some point, companies have to start shifting to that, into that kind of e-commerce sort of app sort of world, and just trying to figure out how to do that a little bit. And the conference is kind of working with some of the businesses in North County to give them free access to the training sessions we're doing, things along those lines to kind of assist. But hopefully that kind of answered that question.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good example. I mean, I just think back from just the past year when I saw you, and then maybe the year before that, and when I first interviewed you about the conference. And I don't even know if we were talking about Zoom a couple of years ago. You know, I don't even think, like, with TikTok, and it's just within this industry, it just on the tech side, all the developments, it's a lot to keep up with. I mean, it's really a lot. When you're planning the conference, are your collaborators, I mean, are you all just brainstorming, who do we want to make sure we include? I mean, are you just trying to cover it all?
Yeah, well, I mean, we obviously got well over 100 sort of 125 sort of submissions for presentations. We pretty much picked anything that was related to pivoting due to COVID. So anything on that topic regarding, you know, communication and content strategy. You know, how do you work? So we even have sessions on how does a business operate in COVID with people being distance learn, you know, kind of distance from each other, all of those sort of things. So we try to make sure we're touching on any of those topics that are out there, Sarah, and then anything on change. I think our one SEO topic is talking a little bit about shifts in searches and, you know, how people are searching now post-COVID. So we try to make sure that all gets integrated in there to a certain extent. But I mean, everything has changed. I mean, even podcasting, which again, I love podcasts. I'm sure you're into podcasting as well. I mean, podcasting, listening and downloading a podcast are up 52% since a year ago. So, I mean, again, not a surprise though, right? I mean, if you say it, somebody said, well, yeah, of course, that totally makes sense. It's like, we've got other time to start consuming information, time to learn, like you talking about getting all sorts of other certifications and learning all these new softwares. Even video, live streaming and video is up. I think they say somewhere around 90% video consumption is up. So that's like almost double. Again, not a surprise, but again, brands have to keep an eye on that to then understand, how can I jump into that sort of bandwagon in a way? You know, I mean, I'll just give you a perfect example. Even if you do a search on Google for, let's say, marketing conferences, and you go to Google Trends to do that, you'll see at the point in time when COVID hit, the search query for that just plummeted, and it pretty much stayed down. So now what we have to do, and again, this gets into SEO, is like, you got to look at trends. So what are people searching on? They're searching on, as we talked earlier before we were on the air, they're searching for online certifications, that sort of thing. So how do you optimize my site now to capture people searching for what they're searching for, and then how do you give them what they're looking for as well? So it's scary at the same time, but that's just one of the challenges I think we all face.
Right.
Yeah.
When it's an industry where the pace is so fast. Yeah. I mean, I can think back to, really years back, almost 10 years back. And I remember somebody who had started a podcast. It was somebody in New York, and they were selling advertising for it. And I remember him telling me his rates. And I thought, no way, like, just no way, because you couldn't have that many people listening to your podcast. And then now, until like 10 years later, it's just a totally different landscape, because the growth is just so fast. I mean, I think this is great that everything's, you've covered a lot about, like, with live events. Is there anything else that you're sort of seeing? I too want to add in, because I mentioned this to you off camera, for the eBlast. I know that UMSL does these certifications and does these weekend courses. Is that something that anyone can look into and sign up on, or do they have to be on your mailing list, or how does that work? It's a little bit, I'm sort of getting off topic of the conference per se, but as it relates to your department.
Sure. No. So if you go to UMSLdigital.com, we have a certification program. We have about 10 classes, Sarah, covering ROI, Salesforce, email marketing strategy, advanced Facebook advertising, all the different topics, 1, 2, 3 day variety taught by industry professionals. Anybody can take the courses. One course, you can take 6, get certified. It really depends on what your budget is. And then, as I said before, even the conference, if you just want to dabble kind of in a mini sort of course and see what it's like at UMSL, again, at the conference, we're doing those half-day kind of deep dive sessions, which have always been popular when they were live, face-to-face sort of sessions. But it's always important to stay on top of the latest. And have you, just going to ask, have you heard of LinkedIn Clubhouse yet? Have you heard of that new app? Or
no, I remember, I think at last conference I was at, I spoke to someone who was doing a beta run for something for LinkedIn, but it wasn't that though. I don't know. Tell me, what is that?
Well, that's the new hottest thing. So it just hit, I think, at the end of 2020, like December. So it's LinkedIn Clubhouse, and it's all about audio. So and it's only for, at the moment, it's only for iPhone users. You jump into a Clubhouse event on all different topics. It can be on, community outreach. It can be on digital marketing. It could be on Instagram influencers. It could be on happy marriages, whatever it is. You can host a Clubhouse if you get on, and then people are invited to come in, or they just stumble across you in the calendar. No video, no messaging, no pictures of us, so you don't have to worry about looking good or having your hair combed. It's just your little icon, and you're either up on stage and you're having conversations, or you're in the audience listening. And occasionally they'll pull audience members up to ask a question, and they'll push them back. This is the hottest rate. I mean, you got to check it out. You have to get an invite. You have to get an invite. I do have a couple of invites left, so maybe I'll send you one. And then you can jump in and just check out all these different clubhouses. But this is a new hot trend at the moment, just kind of around authentic conversation without worrying about the video, the distraction, the messaging, all of that sort of stuff. And I love it.
That's really
not every Clubhouse room that I jumped into is good. Sometimes it's like, okay, I'll just leave quietly. They do have that button to leave quietly, but definitely something. But again, that's just the new world, And one of the clubhouses I was in last week, they were talking about, would this have taken off so quickly if we weren't in COVID time? And probably not. This is just a new platform, a new way to share your ideas and engage in conversation. But
that's so interesting. Thank you for sharing that with me. This is why you are the director. This is why you are the founder of the Midwest Digital Marketing Conference. Really interesting stuff. Thank you so much for your time today. Before we go, we're going to flash up on the screen a full screen graphic for you with the information. It's the Midwest Digital Marketing Conference, MDMC 21. Registration is open. It's taking place April 26th through the 29th. You can register or get more details at bestmarketingconference.com. And there you go with your best marketing. There you go with your SEO, right?
That's right.
Great. It's so good to see you. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me. It's always a pleasure to talk to you, and just to you. And I know you work with a full team of people. Just hats off to you for putting together this year's conference, and all the best to you. So thank you again.
Thanks, Sarah. I appreciate it.
And thank you at home for watching. And if you want more information, go to stltv.net. But thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you for watching STL TV Experience St. Louis.